They really talking about branding, being able to use branding to reach customers in an age where, you can't have those face-to-face interactions and you can't, predict what's going to happen. So really what we're going to be looking at is tools for you to be able to take to your own organization and be able to utilize these to have better brand messaging that'll resonate with your audience and, bring back that ROI that everyone's always looking for. So appreciate the time today. I'll leave a little bit of time at the end for questions, but if I think there's a chat function too, so anyone can hop in and ask questions during as well. So they always say the best way to start a presentation is with a story. So I'm doing my best to bring some excitement since I can't show a lot of videos and things these days. So this is me at Plymouth Plantation. Who does not want to go there as a child for vacation, right? Instead of Disney World. Look how happy I am in that picture too. So the reason I'm telling this story is because not only will it tell a little bit about myself, but it will also kind of set the stage for what we're going to be talking about today. So in my career, I was between jobs and I went to an interview and I was on the third or fourth round of an interview and I left that room and I was just like, I got this. I knew that I had said all the right things. I had a really strong connection with the person that was interviewing me. It just seemed like the right fit. And it was down to me and one other person. And, a couple of days later, I got the dreaded email that said, you have not been selected. We're going in a different direction. So I emailed back. And of course, I was a little heartbroken. I thought I had it, but, didn't want to get my hopes up. So I emailed back because I'm always trying to learn from my experiences and figure out how I can get better. And I said, what was the reason? I'd like to, improve my skills. And I just got a blank email back that said, just didn't seem like the right fit. So I actually had a friend of a friend who worked at the organization and I asked, did you hear anything about it? I said, if you can't tell me, that's fine. I'm always trying to learn and grow from my experiences. And they said, I don't know if I should tell you this or not, but they didn't think you looked the part. And my heart sunk into my stomach. And, as a woman in marketing and in a business, trying to get your voice heard is hard enough. But when you're judged for your size, that's something that maybe has happened before, but I'd never heard it in so many flat terms. So I was really hurting from that situation. And I went into my next interview and it was still really under the surface, like those feelings. It was hard, even being in my 30s, I was like, I should have been used to that by then. But I went into this interview and one of the questions that was asked of me is, how do you deal with rejection? And I decided now's the time to flip that table. Now's the time to put exactly what someone thought was my weakest point as my greatest positive. And I said, I was a fat kid growing up. And you can see in this picture, I'm not super comfortable in my body there, but you grow thick skin. And I've grown thick skin from such a young age. And having that has really led me to where I am today. And if I hadn't have gone through the things that I did with bullying and trying to be confident in myself, I don't think I would have accomplished all of the things that I've done in my life. And I looked up at the interviewer and I wasn't sure if he'd left the room or, if he was going to be in shock, because I would never put myself out there like that before. But he had tears in his eyes and he said, I too was a fat kid. And he's like, I understand what you went through and I understand how you can handle rejection. And then when you're in sales and business, you might go up for an RFP and not win it, or you might have a partnership that you think you're so close to, but it falls through. And we're constantly being rejected all the time. But to be in this business, you have to have thick skin. And for me, that was my point of differentiation. And so what does this have to do with branding? Stay tuned. Here we are. I'm bringing it all together. You got to find your unique differentiator. And for me, that was standing out as, taking something that someone thought was a weakness of mine and making it positive. You got to remain genuine. People are savvy. They can spot BS these days. You have to be who you are and you have to be authentic. And you got to make that emotional connection with your audience. And I inadvertently did that. I had no idea the person interviewing me had been through the same thing I did. But I found out that I got my message in front of the right person. That other job that I didn't get, that was not the right audience. And I'm going to cry saying this almost, because I am where I am because of me taking that chance. And I'm at 6 a.m. and I'm happy to be here. So when we're out there branding, you got to find what makes you unique. You got to put it out there and own it. And you got to make an emotional connection in front of the right people. And that's all the basic bare bones of what branding is. So today, after that story, we're going to be talking about why is branding more important today than ever? Not just today being 2021, but today being during COVID and post-COVID. We're going to be talking about the expectations that customers have on brands now. It's very different from a year ago. We're going to talk about perception research and really getting to know your brand. Then I'll walk you through some of the steps for a brand workshop that you can do internally, or if you do have a budget, you can work with 6 a.m. To help, really define that and work with your group to really uncover a lot of things about your brand that maybe you didn't even know. And then at the end, we're going to translate all that into how that relates to digital marketing and any of your messages that you're going to be putting out in the world. Okay, so why is branding today more important than ever? The saying always goes, when times are good, you should advertise. When times are bad, you must advertise. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of the key things is noise level drops from competitors. When people are going through a recession or a hard time, the first inclination that people have is, let's pull our marketing dollars. We can put the money towards other things. Well, when your competitors do that, that's leaving an open runway for you to get your ads out there. It also projects stability in your brand. If you are able to put yourself out there and advertise and market when times are bad, that shows that you're strong, that you're here for the long haul, and you're going to be there for your customers long term. And to be expected, when you don't have as many competitors in the market, cost of advertising drops down. So you can actually get more messages out there with a less dollar amount, which is great. So to sum it all up, increasing the top of the mind awareness when other people are pulling back, it will actually help increase your market share over time. There's tons of examples throughout history of this, and I'll just run through one quickly. That was kind of one of my favorites. Kellogg's, Snap, Crackle, and Pop, back in the Great Depression in the 20s. Post cereal was the leading category for cereal. And they pulled back their budget for marketing and advertising during the recession. Kellogg's did the complete opposite. They doubled their advertising budget. They introduced a new brand, which was Rice Krispies with the Snap, Crackle, and Pop. They experienced 30% gain in profits by doing that, and then became the leader over Post when everything returned. Same thing in the 90s. We had a recession then. Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, they took advantage of the fact that McDonald's cut their budget completely. And then when all of that was over and the recession was no longer an issue, Pizza Hut, I wrote this down here, sales increased by 61%. Taco Bell's sales increased by 40%, and McDonald's sales decreased by 28%. You better believe going forward, McDonald's has doubled or tripled their advertising budget in times of a recession when things are low. You have to keep your brand out there. Even though it's hard, even though the money seems to be the easiest thing to cut, you have to stay out there and be top of the mind when it matters most. Because when things improve again, people are going to be looking at you first. You're going to be at top of the mind. Everyone else is going to be down here, and they're going to have to, work really hard to get back to where you are. So because of COVID, I had to change this presentation up a little bit. And I think it's really important for people to understand what customers are expecting from brands these days because of the experience we've gone through with COVID. And we've seen this various stages of messaging during COVID. You probably remember when this first hit and we shut down. Normally I would play these videos, but you can click on them later and watch them if you'd like. But Walmart came out with the singing neighbors commercial where it was lean on me. And you had these people singing and it was all this uplifting and, we're going to get through this together. And then it went to this next stage of, hope and inspiration. And this little girl, I don't know if you remember that she's taking chalk and she's drawing hearts on the sidewalk and people are putting hearts in their windows. And it's a message of hope. And then all of those messages turn to, we got to get back to it. Like, we've been shut down long enough. We need to get back to it. Whatever that new normal looks like, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to be here for you no matter what that new normal looks like. So messaging has changed during COVID and it's going to continue to do that. But the most important thing to know about this is it's all about timing. If Walmart had waited a month or two to come out with this, it would have been into that next stage of hope. You can't take the time. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to jump on opportunities when you see them, or you're going to be irrelevant. So all of these did is a really great job of understanding the current situation and putting out a message that made sense at the time. And we all have, as marketers, have to be flexible. We have to be nimble with our messaging and jump on opportunities when they present themselves. So I'm going to walk through a few expectations of brands post-COVID that I'm not sure if you've considered or not, but I'm putting them out there for you guys to kind of see. One is clear values. Brands will no longer be expected to just vocalize their values. They have to put it out there. It's the rule now. Consumers are voting with their dollars. They will support brands who stand for something. And consumers are really holding brands accountable to that higher ethical standard. If you have a choice of using one brand who doesn't really help your community or give back to people, and you have another brand who is, you're always going to choose the one that is doing something to make people's lives better. So you have to be out there and you have to vocalize your values in a genuine way. You can really go off in a wrong place with this. There needs to be balance. You really want to avoid being tactless with it. Any sort of self-promotion is, people will see through that. So there's 3 criteria that we try to live by at the agency of when to promote your values. Number 1 is if you're devoting your time to something. So if you and your organization are volunteering, that is a great thing to promote. If you're donating money to a cause, that's another great way to vocalize your value. And the third would be awareness. If you're spreading the awareness of about an organization or a group that is doing great things in your community, those are 3 ways that you can use your knowledge to promote the values of your organization. And people really look to that, especially millennials. Everyone's wanting to reach those evasive millennials. Like, they're so different. How do we reach them? They want to work with companies that give a crap. Like, to put it any other way, they want to know that you stand for something, that you're doing something. So clear values is going to be important. And that means putting it on your website. That means putting it on your social media. That means living it and breathing it every day within your organization, no matter what department, no matter what business segment you're in. Second one is customer journeys over lifespans. It's no longer, sale to sale interactions. The customer journey is everything. And that customer journey is expanding to the lifespan of a brand. So interactions need to be personalized. In fact, they probably need to be individualized. This is very, very new to COVID. It's not just this sale, it's the next 10 sales. So you really have to give that extra step. If you're not being able to meet with people in person and getting that face-to-face interaction, you have to make that experience seamless. You need to make it individualized, and you need to make it very personal for the person you're interacting with. And a lot of ways people are doing that is through digital. You can be on the website, you can see things on social media, but to be able to get a hold of somebody right away, on the phone, through chat bots, whatever you're doing, you have to be available when they are, or they're going to move to someone else. So digital is a great way to be able to kind of personalize and individualize things going forward. And this goes for B2B and B2C. Mostly you would think it would be B2B, trying to establish those longer term relationships. But B2C is experiencing that same thing. You got to focus on what's relevant in the moment, and you have to really make those personal connections with people so that they can have a relationship that goes beyond that initial sale. We have a lot of clients that are in the banking industry. So that means we're with you for the checking account you set up when you get out of college. We're there for the mortgage you want to get in the middle of your life. And we're there for when you want to retire and getting your retirement planning together. So it's that journey over the lifespan, which is really going to be important post-COVID. So definitely think of the journey that your clients take and how you're going to help them at each stage of that milestone in their life. Number 3 is digital with personalized touch points. Now, we talked about that a little earlier in the previous one, but brands who sell expensive goods, like let's say cars or even homes, they're going to need to invest in digital experiences. And that means, people go online to look for things and information first. They're going to ask their friends for recommendations. They're going to look at reviews that people have had of your products or your services or your location or your event. People are going to look to that first before they contact you. So all that information needs to be there. It needs to be concise. It needs to be clear, and they need to be able to find it when they're looking for it, or they're going to move on to someone else. But combined with that, you also have to have that personal touch. So that means I can find all the information on your site, but when I call you, you're also able to help me right away. And all of your staff is versed in what and all of the details, the most up-to-date details of your products and services. That experience should not have any issues, or that next time they're going to probably use someone else. And after COVID, they're starting to say that 46% of shoppers are likely to continue to make those purchases online. No one would think of buying a car online 10, 15 years ago. I certainly wouldn't. I want to be behind the wheel. I want to test it. I want to see how it rides. But people are doing that now. And so we have to be able to think beyond just this is how we've always done it. You have to think, okay, people are starting to make these larger purchases, or people are starting to buy things before trying them. And being able to have that digital and personal touch point in your customer journey and experience is going to be key as we go forward. You got to be genuine. Like I said with my story earlier, everything has to be genuine, and it should be driven by data. With digital marketing, you have so much data at your access that you can use that to really make better decisions. But you have to be able to tell your story so that it links to the problems that your customers have. It needs to be done authentically. You need to make sure that you're putting something out there that is really who you are, and it needs to sound like it's coming from your own mouth. It has to be supported by data, and every person in the organization has to know this information. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a business where that person at the front desk, let me go ask my manager. Nobody knows anything. All of your employees across the organization really need to be in on the same language. You got to be talking the talk, walking the walk together. You got to be in unison and unified in what you're saying to everyone, because that can make the difference between making a sale and not making a sale. And your story must be relevant. It needs to really reflect what's happening, and it needs to be based on any information that you can gather from data. The next one is hybrid industry events. I know, at least for me, I am very sad that we don't have events and networking events and concerts. And I know Lee is like, I want to go to a concert. And, you know, it's going to happen, but we're going slowly at it. But, you know, when we have trade shows and we have seminars, they're going to be different. It's going to be a hybrid. There's going to be online and offline options for people. You want to make sure that you can serve an audience who is comfortable attending in person, and also those that, you know, don't feel comfortable or don't want to travel. And who knew you could actually make an intimate connection with someone through Zoom? Like, I mean, people thought, oh, this is not personal enough. I need to be at the table with someone. I need to be able to look them in the eye. Well, we've shown in the last year that we can sit and look at a screen and actually make a connection with someone. I can have virtual drinks with Lee on a Wednesday afternoon if I want to. And we probably, yes, see, coffee, not, is that vodka, Lee? Yeah, it's vodka. So, you know, we can make these personal connections, but we have to understand that we have to change how we're thinking. If most of your sales volume came from a trade show, then how are we going to reach those people who can't see us in person, who can't be there and pick up and touch our brochures and talk to us? We need to think differently. And that means that we have to be able to look at this hybrid model and figure out ways that we can attract both parties, those who want to be there in person and those who don't. And let's face it, it's less expensive. If people aren't there in person, it's less expensive for us. So we can actually achieve a better ROI, which I know many bosses will appreciate. Sixth is transparency and giving. I don't know if I coined this phrase, but I'm pretty sure I did. And if I did, I need to trademark it. But companies that communicate their good as part of their goods will come out on top. So you have to communicate what you're doing. Beyond your products and services. Again, like I said, consumers are more inclined to patronize someone that stands for something. At 6 a.m., we talk about we believe in higher education for all, or we believe in healthcare for all. And all over our website, we talk about the things that we believe in. And there's not a lot of agencies out there that do that. We take a stand, and we want to make sure that the clients that we work with understand who we are. And if they feel the same way, then that's the right person we're talking to. It's like that job, right? That person that didn't want me, they weren't the right person for me. 6 a.m. wanted me, and that's where I am, and that's the right person I was talking to. So really making sure that you understand what you stand for and putting it out there. It shows that your company is trying to make the world a better place than making money. And, you know, our agency, our core value is people come first. And, you know, money comes second. So we will invest in our team, we'll invest in our clients, and that has to be apparent through everything that you do. And those companies that socially engage with their clients through giving actually engage on a more deep level with people. And engaging deeply means you're creating loyalty over time. And that's what everyone wants, is a person who is loyal to a brand and sticks with them and continues with that customer journey throughout the span of their lifetime. And the last one here is segmenting audiences. And this is a big one. This is something that not all brands do. And if you hear nothing else today, please listen to this. One message does not fit all. Brands need to talk to their segments in different ways. The client for a bank who wants to talk to millennials will not use the same language as the bank who's trying to reach someone in their 70s who's going to be retiring. So those messages are very different. You can't cast a wide net with one message to everyone. You have to personalize it. You have to individualize it, and you have to speak right to those people. So being able to do that, having different messages for different segments, means you have to know who those segments are. And we'll talk a little bit later about audiences and knowing those segments and how you can figure that out. But what we use at our agency here is called market personas. So we actually have a group of each of our different business segments for our clients. We think about, what's important to them, what motivates them to buy, what kinds of things are they interested in. The more you know about each of those segments, the better you can relay messages to them, the better you can target them in your digital marketing and move the needle. So being able to do that in segmenting audiences, that means it's increased clarity for consumers, meaning people will be able to understand what you're putting out there better because it's just focused in on what's important to them. It's going to provide customer insights for future marketing. So if one of the messages you've used is really resonating with millennials, then that gives you some ammunition for the next campaign that you do. So it really helps you gather insights, helps improve customer engagement and brand loyalty, because the brand thinks, or the customers think, this brand gets me. That's exactly the same problem I was telling my friend the other day, and they just referenced it in this ad. So really being engaged, really talking to them helps increase brand loyalty. And it helps optimize cost efficiency. So you're not casting a wide net trying to reach everyone in Verona for an ad. You could just be talking to the people that, like to go to the dog park or whatever it happens to be. You can just reach those people. It means less dollars because you're talking to the right people. So that brings us into your brand and perception. Just checking my time here. I don't want to go over. All right. Times have changed and so have you. This is me in the 80s. I am the one on the hat on the left, looking really thrilled to be in this family photo. I've changed since then, thank God. Who I am now at 6 a.m. is not who I'm going to be in the future, which I really hope is having cheesecake with Betty White. That is like my dream retirement. She would probably be 130 or 140, but she's going strong. So you got to think as a company, whether you're 2 years old or 10 years old or 100 years old, where you were and where you are now is going to be very different from where you're going to be. So knowing where you are now is going to be very important to be able to take you where you need to go. And that starts with research. And it's not so much that we know who we are and what we think about ourselves. You have to understand what the consumer thinks about you. So for the Verona Chamber, you know what you think about the Verona Chamber and how you want people to perceive you guys as an organization. But what do the community members in Verona actually think about the chamber? There might be a disconnect. So what do we think? What does the world think? And is there a gap in that perception? And is it a small gap or a large gap? Is it a ravine or a chasm? That's what we need to figure out so that we can, address it head on and be able to move it to where we want it to for our retirement, right? So from a great height, brands don't belong to us. They belong to the people that interact with our brand. And getting some high level view of your brand is really important, and it helps kind of drive your decisions for where your future of your company goes. Perspective is everything. So what we recommend is doing some research. Now we partner with clients who have a little more budget and want to spend the time and resources to be able to really figure out what people think in the community about their brand. Do they understand what we provide? Do they understand why we do what we do every single day? So we can help companies do that. If you're interested, let us know. But if you have a little less budget and you just want to kind of get some minimal perception, you can do this yourself. There's some open source options that are free, where you can actually do surveys of your internal and external markets. So internal would be your employees, your key stakeholders, even some of your clients. External would be people that maybe engage with your brand online or people that know of you or past clients. Being able to take both sides of that information, understanding how people think about you will really help you figure out where you are today. And you can do that. We've used SurveyMonkey. I've used Google Forms. We use a lot of these different ones, but really understanding where you are and how people think about you can help you overcome some of those lingering doubts that can happen with using a company or a brand or a service. So that brings me into the mini brand workshop. So my goal today is really just to provide you with some tools that you can take back to your team, conduct a brand workshop internally. 6 a.m. has our own proprietary branding process called the Brand Smart. I can't share that all with you today because then what would the point of having a proprietary process be, right? But I will be sharing some of the key things that you can take internally to start thinking about your brand and how that branding can actually help you with your messaging. It can help you with goals and directions for the future to achieve them. So we're going to walk through a few things today that you can do with your internal teams. And hopefully you can leave here today being prepared to take your company to the next level. First things first, you got to question things, right? And I've always been someone who questions everything. So this is perfect for me. But you want to question the present. So that leads right into what we were talking about with that research. You need to utilize any research that you can get. You need to understand where you are right now. So we recommend that you sit down with some of your key stakeholders. It's not just enough to sit down with your management team, but you need to sit down with people who are experts in each department of your organization. They know the job best. They know what works, what doesn't work. They have that insight that you really need to be able to grasp to bring it all together. The point of this is to get everyone in unison. I guarantee if you sit down with 8 to 10 of your key people in your organization, you are all not going to be on the same page. I don't think we've ever done one of our brand workshops where everyone in the room was just exactly on the same page. That's why it needs to happen, because so many people are saying so many different things that being together and talking about it and coming to some conclusions together, it helps keep everyone in unison. It helps everyone unify the organization, and it helps keep everyone accountable and on the same page as you move forward with any marketing tactics that you do. So we recommend you ask your key stakeholders a few things. What are your goals for your brand? And I recommend a short-term and a long-term goal. Short-term, sometimes it's just, let's get through the year. Let's get through the year, keep all of our employees and make it, right? And that can be fine for this year. But what are your goals in the future? Where do you want to take it? And that's not just internal, but external. So you need to know, where do you want your employees? Do you want them to feel valued? You want them to feel empowered? You want to make sure that they can rise up in the ranks and have opportunities to grow. Think externally. What do you want those goals to be externally? And how will you measure the success of those goals? Some of the ones here that we find quite often when we do these workshops, obviously people want to increase revenue. They want to increase market share. Customer satisfaction is a huge one. And as we talked about, it's really important to have those positive social interactions with people. If you're a service or if you're a product, they have to have those positive customer satisfaction experiences with you. Additional sales and leads. You need to be able to grow those, and that should definitely be a goal of most companies. Repeat business, cross-selling, referrals. Referrals is a big one. A lot of companies that we work with who want to kind of go into their branding and new branding initiatives, or they want to refresh or rebrand themselves. Most common thing is like, how do you get leads now? How do you make sales? Oh, it's all word of mouth. It's our industry. It's all word of mouth. Well, that's great, but how do you foster that? But that's something you need to know. If it's all word of mouth, then let's devise some sort of marketing tactic that will help increase referrals, whether it's a referral bonus or referring businesses back to them. There's ways that you can do things in a strategic way that help boost those goals. And then partnerships. Partnerships are huge, especially with us. We partner with a lot of different companies. We can't be everything to everyone. 6 a.m. we do everything from traditional, which is, print and billboards, to digital and websites and web hosting. And we do everything in the gamut, but we can't be everything to everyone. So that's why we partner with people. So to help us scale up. So partnerships, increased sales, leads, all of these things are things you're going to need to sit down as a team and to say, okay, what are our goals for this brand and how will we measure those goals? That is the number one thing you have to start with first. Then you need to question your market. If everyone is thinking the same thing, then someone's just not thinking, right? And I know, for us, we question our competitors. I know on a monthly basis, I go to our main competitors' websites in the area and I look to see what's new. I look to see what they're putting out there on social. I'm looking to see what clients they're working with. I'm looking to see how they're positioning themselves. And I think a lot of times we get stuck in our day to day and we forget to do things that are simple as setting up Google alerts for your competitors. Take your top 5 competitors, set up a Google alert, and get emails sent right to you on new things that they have going on. You don't even have to search for it, but you need to know what's going on in your market so that you can address it head on. And the number one thing when it comes to your market is really figuring out what makes you unique, what differentiates you. A lot of times we'll get into a room and get through some of these brand questions. And, I hear things like, we have good sales and customer service. I'm like, well, your 5 competitors can say that too. So something else. They're like, oh, our prices are reasonable. I'm like, yep, they can say that too. Something else. Right. So we dig and we dig and we ask 10 different questions. And finally we get to something that's like, bingo, that is your thing. Um, one one of the clients that we worked with, it's out of Middleton and they do medical equipment. It's a global company in 180 some countries. And we did this with them and we said, what makes you unique? Because they have 20 different competitors throughout the world that they were working with. And we question after question, we kept diving in. And they said, finally it came to, well, people just want to know that we're taking care of them. And all of a sudden we all just like kind of sat back and we were like, yes, people have the inherent need to be taken care of. And that was something none of their competition was doing. Being taken care of, you can take in so many ways in a marketing direction, taken care of on the sales side, taken care of if there a problem arises with the equipment, taken care of knowing we have your back if something goes wrong. We're here to train new people if someone leaves your organization. So really taking away all those things that all of you and your competitors have on that. It's just a level playing field. You got to find that one thing. Reminds me of that. I don't know if you've seen that movie City Slickers where what's his name? I can't think of it. The John Wayne guys, he's like, it's that one thing. You just got to find that one thing. And that's what it is. What is your one thing that makes you unique? And you put it out there. For me, I guess I'm a fat kid. Who knew that was my one thing, but that was my one thing I used and it worked for me. So find your one thing, and it needs to be something that you all agree on as a company. And what is that one thing that your competitors can't say? Yeah, you've been in the market for 50 years. So is this person. So is that person. What is that thing that makes you special? And really highlight that. Also really know what your competitors are claiming. A lot of times we'll go into a pitch scenario for an agency and we know that certain agencies will send bills for things that they didn't account for. So one of the things that we do as an agency is we talk about upfront, here's how we track our costs. You will never get a bill that's a surprise to you. This is something that we pride ourselves on, and we only know that because we've done our research to find out what some of those problems are with some of the competitors that we go up against all the time. Another one is question your audience. This is a big one. Who are we talking to? And this is something that, we can certainly help you with as an agency, but it's also something that you really need to look at your ideal clients, your ideal prospects. What do those people look like? There's going to be primary, which is here is 75% of the people that we're going after. The secondary is that 25% we're going after. And knowing your audience doesn't just mean, okay, they are female that are 18 to 35 years old who make 50,000 or less a year. Those are just simple demographic psychographics. You can get that anywhere. You want to go beyond that when you're really thinking about your audience. You want to know what activities they like to do, what motivates them to buy, what do they listen to, what influencers are they listening to? And that's where that whole influencer thing came about on social media. So-and-so is marketing makeup and people look to them for advice, or, people are looking to people that they know, and understanding how they make a decision is huge. And knowing more about your audience means you can make better decisions and you can say a message that will resonate more wholeheartedly with them. So, how do they prefer to be talked to? All of these things are things that you have to consider. And I'll tell you why it's important. So, for example, I like to use Verona because it's the Verona Chamber, so I can use them. But we do campaigns throughout the year. Some that focus on hiking and biking in the summer months, or golf, or even in the winter we talk about skiing and snowboarding and snowmobiling. And the people who play golf in the areas around Verona are not the same people that snowboard in the winter. So what we do is when we put a media plan together, we are looking at every single piece of data that we can get on these people, which means we can spend less money. If we are talking just to those right people, then the money is going to go a lot farther. There's ways to do this on social media. You can go to Facebook. There's a lot more targeting options. Again, those are changing all of the time with the different algorithms that they have. It's going to change with what data they can collect. But you would be very surprised how much information Big Brother knows about you. They say people that Big Brother can basically tell when people are going to get divorced before they do get divorced, because they know what you're searching on the internet. They know what movies you're watching. They know you've checked in at 10 bars this week or whatever. They know about you. So we can actually harvest that information and use it to our advantage to be able to share the right messages with the right people at the right time. So I really encourage you to look at your audiences, make sure they're segmented because they're not all the same. Figure out who makes 80% of your revenue and look at that other 20%, but that 80% is going to be key. And so stick with that first to really know your audience. And then the last one that is probably the hardest one to do is question your why. And I don't know if you've all heard of the Golden Circle. If you haven't heard of that, go on YouTube, look up the Golden Circle, and there's a TED Talk about it. It's probably about 10 years old at this point, but I think I've used it in almost every presentation I've ever given because it is really at the heart of branding. It is everything. And the why is the hardest thing to get to. The best example I can think of this is, I believe it was Michelin. It might have been Goodyear, but don't quote me on this. They took the tire. And tires have great tread. They can last for this many miles. They have great wear and tear. Whatever, I don't know tires, but they have all of these features and benefits that go along with their product. But the minute they put that baby inside that tire and they said, there's a lot riding on it, boom, they got to the why. They got to the heart. And making emotional connections with your audience is the hardest thing to do, but it's also the most beneficial thing to do. Putting a baby inside a tire and letting people know that it's not just the wear and tear, it's not just the treads, it's not just the features that everyone likes to tout. It is the fact that you can stop your car and avoid an accident and save the people that are most precious to you, which is your family. They completely flipped that. They made it emotional and they made it their why. And that's what, as marketers, we're always trying to get to. Why would somebody want to use your product or service? Why would our customers want to work with us? How should they feel when they leave your store? How should they feel when they get off a phone with you? How should they feel when they click off a meeting with you? Every one of those things has to be ingrained in your culture. And it's something that is very important to take the time to do. So I would really encourage all of you to, if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it and it's been a long time, go to YouTube, watch that. Simon Sinek is the person who did that one. And it really is at the core of everything. If you can figure out your why and you can communicate it to people in a genuine way, your sales are going to improve. Your loyalty and your engagement with your customers will improve. It's just figuring that out and being able to communicate it to them in the right place at the right time. So in the end, what does knowing your brand better mean in the digital world? So it means you can do the following. You can leverage your differentiation on your website. We find people all the time who come to us and they want, let's say, we want a print ad or we want a digital ad. And then we look at their website and we're like, okay, before we do that, we're going to have to work on your website. Your website is your biggest sales tool, people. It is the absolute main thing that needs to be exactly the way you want it to be. it's where everyone goes first to learn about you. So it has to be easily navigated. It has to be really communicating in a clear and concise way. It needs to show who you are. It needs to show that you differentiate yourself. It needs to show your heart and your why in just a few pages. Because if they don't find that, they're going to go to someone who can. And if your website is lagging behind, then you're not going to make that sale. So before you start anything else, figure out your why, figure out who you are and your brands and what you want to communicate, and get it on your website in a clear and concise manner. 6 a.m. can help with that, but if you can do it on your own, more power to you. But you need to be able to utilize that website first. Also, you want to customize messages to different targets in, let's say, an email campaign. Anymore, you want to do phone calls. There's 17 touch points is what it takes now to get someone to actually take action on something. So you're going to have to be hitting people at many different places: online, on TV, on social, on the phone, through email, whatever it happens to be. But when you have those segments really identified and you know those personas of each customer segment, then you can actually serve messages right to them that speaks right to them. So you can't send an email out to 100 different people that have 100 different things that are important to them and have it be as successful as it could be. By segmenting and looking and targeting through email is an easy, inexpensive way for people to get their message out there. You can customize it based on the branding information you've gathered. Another way is through social media. You can not just boost posts on Facebook. That doesn't do a whole lot these days. Everyone's doing that. You can see right at the top where it says sponsored. But if you're saying stuff to the right audience and you're really using the tools in Facebook to target the right people, or you're mirroring audiences. So let's say you're a brewery and you love what Wisconsin Brewing is doing, you can actually mirror their audience and be able to go after some of their, competitors that, or some of their, customers that seem to like them as well. So really utilizing the function in social media to know how to target them, and then being able to craft messages to all of those different segments. So just putting an ad out there that says, we're the best, we're giving back, check us out. Like that's not gonna do anything. But if you talk right to that person about what is meaningful to them and they look at it, they're not going to scroll past it. They're actually going to stop and they're going to engage with it. And in digital marketing, if someone's engaged with your ad, you can actually retarget them. And that's what we did a lot with the Verona Chamber. If someone was really interested in, winter sports and they clicked on the video that we were posting, but they didn't take action, they didn't go to the site, or they went to the site and they didn't book a hotel weekend to stay in the town, then, we would serve an ad to them again, and we would serve the ad to them again. So for me right now, I'm looking at new spring jackets. This jacket has been following me that I found it's every single day, right on my screen saying, buy me, buy me. You never bought me. I'm sure all of you get that too. That's retargeting. And that's something that you really need to utilize, especially those that have engaged with your ad. You need to push them in that next level and be another one of those 17 touch points. So invest in retargeting for sure. You also can craft ads based on your unique brand story. And that's going to help you grow awareness. There are so many ways digitally these days that we can promote your differentiators. But before you do that, you have to know who you are. You have to know what you want to be. You have to know what are the amazing things that make you who you are and why you do it every day, and then get that out there to the world in the best possible fashion. And that all comes down to strategy. So those are kind of things that you can take to your team. Ask some of these questions, sit down together, really think about who you want to be and where you're taking this, and also think about how things are going to change post-COVID and what that means for your brand and some of the things that you've been doing in the past and how that's going to look in the future. So that's my spiel. I think we got 10 minutes or so for any questions people have. I'm happy to listen.
If people have questions, they can unmute themselves or put it in the chat as well. I do have a couple of things. One, the segmenting has been very helpful with us with tourism. So, and going through that whole, who are you, what brand workshop that we did with 6 a.m. was very interesting to find out what people thought about Verona and what made Verona unique as we were getting ready for our tourism. So that was, everybody in the same room had something different, it took a while to get around to what made Verona unique. Um, with the values that you were talking about, Jill, in the very beginning, that, letting you businesses know your values, with the way our country has been divisive and everything, do companies have to be kind of careful about some of that so that they're not, grabbing one side and alienating another side? I mean,
Yeah, experienced that internally when we came out with this whole 6 a.m. we believe stuff, right? We stay away from politics completely. We don't want to go there. People generally try to stay away from things that polarize people and that separate people. We're looking at unison. So I think there's a way to be able to position your messaging where it's inclusive of everyone, where it's something that is just human nature values that we should all have. But some companies do take a stand, and they've gotten it's been controversial. Whether it's putting someone in their ad where they take a knee for the anthem. So they always say no press is bad press, but they are confident enough, and I think that they have enough marketing dollars to kind of take some chances. Some of us who are smaller and kind of go month to month sometimes, and maybe it's not something you want to hang your hat on. So you need to be very careful about how you do that. But if it's something you're very strongly believe in, it can differentiate you, and it's worth putting out there.
Okay. Most of and anybody can jump in at any point, otherwise I'll just keep going. What a lot of companies have come out with this, we're all in this together, and the whole kind of COVID ad is, I guess, what I would call it. Are people getting tired of those? Are they starting to? Because I know when I see that, it's kind of like, yeah, and I'm doing something else. So is it sort of time for these companies to move away from that a little bit?
Absolutely. And that slide that I had, which shows like the kind of the different progress of COVID, people are sick of hearing about it. There's still going to be people that are putting that out there because it's definitely a real thing that's going on, and it's slowly going away, but it's still here, right? So in a way you have to address it, but really what companies are doing right now is talking about how to keep people safe. I know with Verona, we're putting out there staying safely in the hotel and what the hotels are doing to keep people safe when they visit. So it's less focusing on COVID, we're here for you, things are going to get better. And it's more about, in this new world that we're living in, this is how we're protecting you. So you can go back out and get some sense of normalcy back in your life, but here's what we're doing to keep you safe.
What about all these companies that have had longtime brands, and they're changing their branding based on the climate today? Any thoughts? Or is that one of those where I don't know. There's just, I know you see that a brand comes out and they're changing their branding and they're changing their names and they're doing different things, and they're on social media. There's a lot of back and forth with each other. I assume that they've done their market research to let them know that they really should be doing that.
We have 2 companies right now in Dane County that we're talking to who are actually investing in research. They're investing in that perception and research with us to figure out if they want to refresh their brand, if it's time to take that brand to the next level, or is what they're putting out there good enough. So they're taking the time to do that up front. But it's always a good idea to look at your brand every few years. 6 a.m. even went through our own brand process a few years ago. Things have changed. Again, that slide where it's like, I'm not the person I was a year ago even. So we constantly have to be looking about who we are and who we want to be. And I'm not saying do a complete rebrand all the time. It's obviously not economical, but competition plays a part in that as well. If your competition is stepping things up, then you got to make sure that you are kind of staying relevant. And so depending on who you are, it's really a good idea to look every few years at yourself and see what's changed and if there's ways that you can improve your experience and how you talk about yourself.
Anybody have any questions? I love the presentation. We really appreciate you doing this, and lots of great information. And we will have the slides available. I believe Molly's out with the migraine today, but she usually takes care of that and sends it to the participants if they want. So
Lee, I would jump in really quick. This is Kelly with JSD. So I took a new job just 7 months ago. And ironically, I met Jill and her team at the Verona Chamber holiday gathering at State Bank at Cross Plains, which was probably a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yeah, I love how the networking works because it's all come back in full swing. And now we have 6 a.m. on our team helping us with branding. And it's been good for me too, because I'm in a brand new company and I'm learning a lot about my leadership here. And learning how kind of where I would like things to go aren't necessarily where they might go, but 6 a.m. is helping me peruse through that. But Jill, I wanted you to talk a little bit about, I think what's unique about our relationship too, is that we not only are using 6 a.m. for branding, but they went through the whole Brand Smart presentation with us, me and my marketing committee. I think there was 10 of us on that original call. And then not only is that Brand Smart research and data good for building a new logo, just a new brand in general, but now we're working with 6 a.m. on a recruitment campaign. I finally talked my leadership here into getting creative on hiring. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be looking to hire now because there's a lot of people who lost their jobs or business slowed down a little bit during COVID. Things are massively blowing up now. We're growing quickly. We need a lot of people. We just have a lot of hiring going on. So I don't know if Jill, you want to talk a little bit about just how the branding also helps in recruitment campaigns and kind of how we're using that material to now do campaigning on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, doing that workshop with you, we gained information from all different departments. We put them all in one report where everyone looked at it and checked off, yes, this is everything that we talked about. And we had differing opinions in that room across the board. People that maybe didn't think marketing was so great. There's better uses for our dollars, right? And we get that in every session that we do. But having that baseline of here is the people we're talking to will also give you an idea of who are the people that you want to recruit for your job. And, working with you, we know the kinds of people after our sessions that will resonate well with your values, will resonate well with your structure and the benefits that you provide to your staff, and being able to target not only certain geographies and certain job titles that you're trying to look for, you're also trying to find those characteristics of people that would be a good fit culturally. So I think that's a trend that we're seeing very much, is that people are not able to get and retain qualified people for their jobs. I mean, you think that with the economy now, with how it is, people would be jumping at any job, and you probably get a lot of applicants, but maybe you get a very small few who actually would be the person that you're looking for. So really understanding that and understanding who you're looking for can not only help recruit, but it also helps onboard. So, having that report of here's all the things, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, this is why we do what we do, being able to give that to a new employee that starts gives them that foundation of everything. So
that's a really good point. I'm adding that in my notes right now. I didn't even think about the fact that I should take the Brand Smart data and actually think about creating even a little document or a cheat sheet.
Yeah. And we actually create what's called a brand board, where we'll take everything from the Brand Smart and we'll actually put it with some colors and some visuals, and we mark it down for everyone. And you can actually print that as a one pager for your new employees.
So you're saying apparently I should just let you do that for me.
We can do that. We can stay on afterwards and talk. But yeah, I mean, having a new person be just well-versed in who you are from the bat, having them talk the talk and walk the walk from the very beginning is something that companies really kind of ignore.
Yeah.
Training is always so weird at companies. Some are really, really thorough. Some are just like, go at it. Let us know how you do.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get much, but giving a very new person, not only an employee handbook, but saying, here is the Bible of who we are. Read this, know it, learn it. This is your elevator pitch if you run into anyone anywhere, is huge. It's huge.
So the second thing I was going to mention falls into what Brenda just messaged the entire group. She asked about how important SEO is. So interestingly, Brenda and everybody else on this call, We're also using 6 a.m. to help us keyword our brand new website. Again, it is crucial. You need to have a website that is top notch. So we're rebuilding our website, also rebuilding the branding logo. At the same time, we're using 6 a.m. to help actually keyword. It's so important to keyword, especially in the site, so that as people are doing the Google searches, or as 6 a.m. helps us create these digital ads in our campaigning, whether it's recruitment or for whatever it's regarding, we want to make sure the keywording is absolutely top notch. So I'll shut up now and let Jill talk. But yeah, it just worked into exactly what we're also having 6 a.m. do for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a one-person show. Autumn Light Interiors is just, you know, I'm the interior decorator owner, the programmer and everything. And so I'm struggling with, you know, where do I spend my time? Should it be SEO? Should it be just getting ads out there on Facebook or whatever? So how does that rank in importance?
Yeah, SEO on your website is super important. That helps with organic search growth on Google. And those are people that are actually searching for your services in the moment. So these are people who are actively wanting to buy something or to work with you or find out more. So we recommend paid search, which used to be called Google Ads, really utilizing that and understanding your keywords there to be able to be top of the list when people are looking for your services. Also being able to add those keywords into your website content. And that, if you're doing those branding exercises and for you, it's just you, right? So really sitting down, finding out what those keywords are, not only your services and your products, but what differentiates you, what people might be looking for. I don't know if you have any statistics on your website on which, pages people spend the most time on. That insight will help you really craft what's going to move the needle. SEO, there's a lot of different options. If it's just you, there are some there's some actual programs that you can get very inexpensively where you can pull up your website and in each page it will highlight in red, yellow, or green how good your page is on SEO. Meaning if it's yellow, it's like if you use this word or this phrase, this would rank higher in search terms on Google. Or this phrase is too, I don't know, let's put this delicately, it's using too much jargon. We always want to say a high school education for most of the things that we put on our website, just because you're trying to reach a large number of people. So there are, platforms and there are software that can help you get your SEO, or you can partner with someone like an agency to help you get there. But it's pretty easy once you get the hand of it, but you really just need to sit down and figure out what those important things people are searching for from you and making sure that it's within the copy and the content and the headings of your site.
Thank you.
Yep. I can actually add another slide for SEO if you want, and we can send that out with the presentation when Molly gets back, so that people can kind of see what we recommend out there as far as SEO. Obviously, we can help with that as well. My email's in the presentation, so if you want to work with someone and don't have enough time, we can help you as well.
That'd be great. Yeah, lots of good information here in a very short period of time. So really appreciate you taking the time and working with everybody. So thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
As always, thanks for the information.
All right. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Appreciate being here. All right, bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.